Muy buenos días.
Good morning and welcome to the Prado Museum. Cervantes once said, upon his return of the Battle of Lepanto, he said that he had witnessed one of the greatest occasions of all centuries. I'm not going to say that this is the most important occasion. In fact, it's not a battle, it's a feat of cooperation. But I would say that this is a very important and momentous occasion. So, using some typical words from Andalusia, I would say that it is a very, very high occasion. It's the only way I can explain the excellence, the beauty of this exhibition that will be opened next Monday by the King and Queen of Spain, together with Princess Letizia from Belgium. I'd like to thank all of you for making this possible. First of all, the BBVA Foundation, the exclusive sponsor of this event. They've helped us very much. They continue to help us a lot, and I would like to express my gratitude to them, especially Rafael Pardo, who's with us today. I also want to thank the generosity and trust of many museums and collections that have lent many works by Bosch for this exhibition. And here I'd like to mention two Spanish institutions: National Heritage, Patrimonio Nacional, whose managing director is with us today, and the Lázaro Galdiano Foundation. And to continue with the Iberian Peninsula, I also want to refer to the Arte Antiga National Museum from Lisbon for giving us on loan a wonderful painting. I'd like to say that its director is the nicest one of all, Antonio, of all museums. Tonight we'll have a chance to thank all the other galleries and collections from Rotterdam, Paris, London, Vienna, Venice, New York, Boston, Philadelphia, Washington, and Kansas City, etc. This has made it possible for us to have this event, which is the largest exhibition on Bosch ever organized. And for people from my generation, this is something we probably won't see again. Maybe the younger ones will witness something similar, but it's not going to be an easy task. The Prado Museum has been studying for a long time its own collection, and as you know, the person in charge of academic matters is the curator of this exhibition, who's directed the wonderful catalog that will go on sale either today or tomorrow. I'm referring to Pilar Silva Morato. I apologize, Pilar. I don't know what's wrong with me. You fainted before. I'm about to faint now. Anyways, Pilar, with great discretion and great skill and hard work, has attracted the collaboration of a large number of experts from Prado Museum and from outside the Prado Museum, so that we could have a better understanding of Bosch's works, especially those that are custodied here, like the Garden of Earthly Delights, and all the other works of Bosch that we custody here in Prado as a result of a collector's passion of Philip II. And now I'd like to thank the National Heritage Institution of Spain for their great help, especially for lending us Christ carrying the cross. They've even had to change their program as a result of his loan, but now we're all very happy and very happy that we now have this excellent relationship that I'm sure will continue. This collaboration between these two institutions, which share a similar origin and also share similar goals. And that is why it's important for both National Heritage and the Prado Museum to collaborate and work together. On behalf of the board, I'd like to say that all of this wouldn't have been possible without the planning capacity, without the talent, without the hard work, and the leadership ability of Miguel Sugasa. I know that Miguel Sugasa really wanted to organize this exhibition, and he's responsible for it to a large extent, and because he's been able to inspire and motivate a team of people that have worked so hard for this exhibition. Everyone from the museum has been involved. As Cervantes was a sailor, and Miguel Sugasa and I have also been sailors during our military training times, I'd like to express this with the expression that that sailors use when they welcome a new ship. I'd like to thank all those who work at the Prado Museum, and I'd like to really thank them as your captain. Thank you very much.
Muy buenos días.
Good morning. It is a pleasure for me to be here today. I'm going to be very brief because I'm sure that all of you are here to listen to more important people than me. It is an honor for me to be connected to this exhibition. Mr. Pérez Yorca spoke about how this exhibition started to be discussed many years ago over lunch, and the director of the museum has been working for a long time on this. And this is the exhibition that we wanted to support. The BBVA Foundation, many of you know us. We sponsor very little. We organize our own programs and our own scholarships, but we like to sponsor a few events every year. Especially, we like to support unique institutions that are able to present exceptional cultural goods in the field of visual arts and music. So for more than 13 years, we've had a very special relationship with the Prado Museum, and we've always supported the Prado Museum in these wonderful exhibitions. So I just want to say that we all have the conviction that this is the greatest exhibition in a long time. I've been traveling outside of Spain recently, And a lot of people have talked to me about this exhibition because they'd heard about it. Spanish and international audiences, I'm sure, will welcome this exhibition. And I'd like to congratulate Miguel's team and Miguel himself. We have a very good relationship with Miguel and the rest of the museum. And I'd like to congratulate Pilar Silva for her exceptional work. Even the paintings of the Prado Museum that we'd already seen, we're going to see them differently, with different eyes now. So again, thank you. I'd like to thank all museums and institutions that have participated, especially National Heritage, for making it possible for us to enjoy this unique exhibition. That's all. Thank you. Good morning and welcome to the Prado Museum. Welcome for this momentous occasion. We're celebrating the 5th centennial of the death of Hieronymus Bosch. We thought it was a good enough reason to dedicate to him an exhibition. I wouldn't dare call it the exhibition, and probably it's the best proof of the great expectation arising by this exhibition is this press conference. We had never had so many foreign press representatives in a press conference here. The Prado Museum had to organize an exhibition on Bosch on occasion of the 500th anniversary of his death. Bosch, even though he was born, worked, and died in Hertogenbosch, in what is now the Netherlands, is a Spanish painter in a way. He plays a very important role in the history of art, mainly because of the interest shown in Bosch by a lot of Spaniards in the 16th century. And this meant that a lot of his works came to Spain. The main collector of Bosch, the person who managed to collect most works, was Philip II. And the Prado Museum aired, together with the national heritage of Philip II's collection, is now the custodian of the greatest Bosch collection. So we had a debt with Bosch in a way. As has often been said, the Prado Museum is a museum of painters and not so much of paintings. A lot of people associate certain painters with the Prado Museum. This is a case of Velázquez, this is a case of Titian, Rubens, Goya, but it's also the case of Hieronymus Bosch, whom we Spaniards call El Bosco. In fact, for a very long time, Bosch has been an unavoidable presence in the rooms of the Prado Museum and one of its main attractions. This has been the case with the passing of the years. It's still the case, and we can say that the Bosch rooms are amongst the most visited rooms in the Prado Museum. His paintings, and the Garden of Earthly Delights most particularly, is the one that attracts, one of the paintings that attracts most attention in the museum. We're organizing this exhibition on occasion of the 500th anniversary of his death, but this is not really the result of improvisation. The Prado Museum has been getting ready for this exhibition for 2 decades now. Otherwise, it would have been impossible to present all his works restored in extraordinary conditions. Some important landmarks during the restoration process was the work done with the Garden of Earthly Delights, which concluded in the year 2000 with an exhibition curated by Pilar Silva, where we were able to see the Garden of Earthly Delights with other works that inspired it, and which led to the publication that you can see on the screen now. Since then, until now, the Prado Museum, thanks to the excellent work of its curators and employees, has restored all of its works by Bosch. And we now have the Temptations of St. Anthony, which has recovered its original format, and the Rosetta Stone of Bosch called the Adoration of the Magi. I call it the Rosetta Stone because it's the best preserved work by Bosch, because unfortunately not all paintings by Bosch have reached us in excellent conditions, and also because we can date it very precisely. Apart from that, the Prado Museum has been a pioneer in doing different technical studies on Bosch. In the year 2001, this study was published. It was done by Carmen Garrido. Since then, anyone who is familiar with technical studies will know that technological breakthroughs are happening faster and faster. So we were not happy with that technical study. We have subjected Bosch's work to further tests with the results that you can see on the screen, and that you'll be able to see both in the exhibition and in the catalog. You will see how technology breakthroughs have allowed us to understand better the paintings by Bosch with much greater definition and accuracy, giving us a different insight of his works. The technical department, led by Laura Alba, has worked very hard on this, and that is why we can now see this radiograph in a completely different way with the removal of some of the boards. All of this has brought us to this decisive moment, which is the opening of the exhibition. An exhibition that I would dare say is not just magnificent, but it's a very timely and necessary one. And I believe we should value it just like we do with any other exhibition, from the point of view of how it's appreciated by audiences. Bosch is a painter that suggests humility to anyone who observes his works. And if I were an expert in Bosch, I would rent an apartment next to El Prado, and I would spend the next few months here in Madrid. We're talking about Bosch at his best, his fundamental works, the ones that make him who he is. And this will allow us to think about all those question marks and doubts that we still have about the authorship of some of his works and their chronology. The Prado Museum for many years has conceived its great exhibitions as comprehensive projects. The main piece is always the exhibition and the catalog. And this time around, the Prado Museum has produced a dual edition in both English and Spanish. And I'd like to thank the publishing department of Prado for the excellent effort they've made, making sure that we have the catalogs here today with the highest technical quality. But as I said before, we like to go further than that. We organize monographic courses, lectures, music and cinema, but we've added this time some unusual events, such as the production of this documentary that will be released soon. It's a documentary about the Garden of Earthly Delights, and it represents this garden as a conversation piece. Also, for the first time, we produced a comic by Max, both in English and in Spanish. And we will also have the 5th edition of the Prado Museum Chair Render Falkenberg will be the chair this year. He will dedicate his teachings to Bosch and his ideal pupil, Peter Bruegel. So now I think we should give the floor to Pilar Silva, the curator of this exhibition, who will help us understand it a little better.
¿Empezamos por aquí? No, este no es. Es el mismo el mismo documento. Ah, vale. El mismo que estaba. Ahí donde estaba Falkenberg. Ahora pasas aquí. Paso yo aquí ya. Esto. Y ahora el siguiente. Espera. Ah, vale, ya está. Aquí. Buenos días, gracias a todos.
Good morning, and thank you all for coming to this press conference. I'm going to show you, first of all, a map of the exhibition. We wanted to make it rather unique. We've transformed our exhibition rooms, A and B, so that people could see Bosch's works, especially his triptychs, in the best possible light and conditions. The exhibition on Bosch is a monographic one, and there are two ways of looking at it, either chronologically, because there aren't that many. Some people talk about 21, others 25, others 27. It's a small number of works. And it's really difficult to establish a chronology because Bosch didn't date his works. We don't have any documents. The only one we have about the final judgment, or the last judgment, commissioned by Philip II, was never realized, or at least it's not the one in the Vienna Academy. So the only way we could do this was to organize his works by themes, and we've included paintings and drawings in the same spaces. We start with the city where Bosch was born, where he spent most of his life. Then we divided his work into 6 sections, starting with his childhood, saints, Garden of Earthly Delights, World and Man, Deadly Scenes, profane works, and we conclude with the New Testament, with the Passion of Christ. Bosch and Hertogenbosch, well, we could have shown many things for this slide, but I wanted to choose this square, this market square of the city where he lived from 1462 until his death in 1516. In this anonymous painting, we see the house where Bosch lived is a 7th one to the right. Bosch lived there until the year 1516, and his wife lived there until 1523. And right now, and later on, his wife's nephew lived there. We wanted to include some images. This triptych from the workshop of Bosch, which is now in Boston, because Peter van Os and his father-in-law were members of the same brotherhood that Bosch was a member of. The first section, as I said, is dedicated to Christ's childhood and Christ's public life. We have focused on this important work, in this case, the wonderful Garden of Earth, the wonderful Adoration of the Magi, which has been just restored by one of our colleagues. It's the first time that people will be able to see this work restored where you can see how Bosch worked during his first stage. We're talking about 1494, around that time. You can see his use of the brush. You can see how he followed the tradition of Van Eyck, but creating a completely different image, where elements that have nothing to do with what other painters painted about show his great originality and capacity to invent. We now move to another section dedicated to the saints. It's a more numerous one. We have this masterpiece in the center, The Temptations of Saint Anthony from Lisbon, that we fortunately have in the exhibition, and all visitors will be able to enjoy this work from his second stage, a work like the Hay Wain, which gives us an idea of Bosch's capacity as a creator of demons. Bosch was known in the 17th century for his demons. Felipe de Guevara said that he copied everything from reality except for demons, where he got carried away by his own fantasy. But Bosch was not just a painter of demons. He was a very original painter who changed technique and iconography, and he was able to work and transform things in an amazing way. Here we have this message, the message of Saint Anthony. You have to follow Christ. He's looking at the viewers, like in modern devotion. These effects that Bosch achieved make his paintings look like they're hanging in the air. We have this wonderful St. John the Baptist, owned by the Lázaro Galdiano collection. We also have this wonderful St. John the Evangelist from Berlin as well, which are also in this section of the exhibition. These are different perspectives. I love to see the backside of the Passion of Christ. It's amazing. Freilander said in 1927 that Bosch painted like a draughtsman and drew like a painter because he worked on the surfaces a lot. But without an underlying drawing, he could draw on the surface of the board or the panel. This is from paradise to hell. There's always a paradise, there's always a hell. And in this case, Bosch created a new imagery that was present in the Old Testament, but he gave it a different approach. And he always gives us his own opinion. He tells us what we shouldn't do in order not to be condemned or damned. He said humankind should not get carried away by the enjoyment of senses. Humankind should not want material goods. And it is not by doing good, but by not doing bad things that you can save yourselves. And here we have this chart with the Pope and even the King of France, probably. When he ended, he added this flower to the crown. Not only do we have the Duke of Burgundy, the Duke of Burgundy had problems with the King of France, but also some of those noblemen were prisoners of the French, such as some of the Nassaus. I don't know if I'm moving the pictures too fast. I just want you to see different effects. Here we have the Last Judgment from Bruges. You can see the visions of the hereafter from Venice. This part dedicated to paradise with the rise to Empyrean. Someone probably had this experience of getting into that tunnel that goes to the hereafter. The following section is dedicated to the garden. We had to dedicate a section to the Garden of Earthly Delights. We had no other choice. You have the garden in the middle. You can see the backside here. When you see the exhibition, you will see that in the back panels, there's a very subtle image so that visitors can get an idea of what it looks like when it is closed. It's really amazing. It would be great if we could open and close it, although we shouldn't do it for preservation reasons. The Adoration of the Magi and the Garden of Earthly Delights are the ones that have helped us understand his evolution as a painter. Now we know that this was the person who commissioned these works. We wanted to pay tribute to Elderberg in Nassau with this portrait and with this framework. The outer part is not original, but this inner part is, and it indicates his taste for foreign things, different things that didn't follow the transition. His Book of Hours, we've opened it on the date of the birth of Christ. Not so much because we can see a lot of animals and flowers, which was very typical of miniatures at the time, but because Engelberg and Nassau asked for this riders to be painted in such a way, and this indicates the beginning of redemption. In the following section, dedicated to the world and mankind, sins and profane works, we've been very fortunate to get this painting. I also wanted to show you the Tree Man from Albertina, which is a masterpiece, an amazing one, just like this painting on the slide, on the screen. Bosch was a landscape painter. He drew the landscape from reality, using his fantasy in the garden, but always starting from reality. And he oftentimes anticipated the world of Patinil. Here you can see how he drew as a painter, with different touches of ink, different thickness. In this section, we also have the table of deadly scenes and the extraction of the stone. Here we have this incomplete triptych with this character from Rotterdam's museum, Death and the Miser, and this other work. This is not only a crazy person, but a person who's on the margins of society. The last section is dedicated to Christ's Passion. We have two very important works here, apart from the one that you see on the screen, which is Christ carrying the cross from Vienna, which on the back side have this child Jesus learning to walk. In this section, I'd like to underline the Christ carrying the cross of the national heritage of Spain that has been given on loan to us. They had it on exhibition in Escorial, but they have been very kind to loan them this work to us, and they've replaced it with two side panels from Lisbon. This is Christ carrying the cross, and this is Christ crowned with thorns from London. two masterpieces that close the last section of the exhibition, where we can also see Exe Homo from Frankfurt. And I don't know if you'll be able to see it here, but there are 6 sections in the exhibition, and visitors will find a Bosch that they're not used to. They will realize that Bosch is not only more than demons, but he's also more than just a garden of earthly delights, even though it was the pinnacle of Western art. He also painted saints. He also painted more traditional paintings. So a new Bosch will be seen with this exhibition, and from now on, I'm sure there will be new research and new studies, and we'll identify new findings. I would like to conclude now thanking all the people who've collaborated with this exhibition, researchers, the technical documentation department, the analytical laboratory, the photographic archive, with the wonderful pictures from Pepe Bastan and Alberto, the publishing department. They've had to put up with me with my last-minute text and corrections. They almost called me Penelope because of that. But finally, we made it on time, and it's been a great effort. Lola, Luis, thank you. Lucia Villarreal has also worked very hard, and I'd like to say something to Karina Marota, who's not with us today. The brigade, everyone, all departments have been of great help. I don't want to forget anyone. They've all made it possible for you to see this exhibition, enjoy it. Not the way we've enjoyed it, because that would be impossible. We were so excited whenever we received one of the works. But anyways, I hope you will enjoy it as much as you can. Thank you.